In this video, I'm going to be showing you folks exactly how a profit process looks like in real estate. And by that, I mean something consistent that brings you profit every single time on every single deal you do. Now, folks, first thing I ask is to excuse this setup. Very, very cluttered and messy, but as long as you can follow along my screen here, we're going to be all good to go. So, there's a couple things I want to get straight when it comes to doing deals in real estate. There's 3 phases to a real estate deal, something that brings you profit. And so what these 3 phases look like this. So if you look here, this is the skeleton of a consistently profitable real estate investing business. Now bear with me, some of this stuff is simple, but it's important nonetheless. So the first thing you need to actually account for is sourcing a deal. Secondly, it's securing that deal. And finally, selling it. Notice how there's no taking title or purchase phase. That's because it's something optional and it comes in between securing and selling. Now, some deals won't need it, some of them will. Now, when it comes to sourcing, inside of your business itself, you need marketing management. That's what it's called. Now, for marketing management, you need a specialty media buyer. What is that? That is someone who runs your ads for you. Now, there are free ways of finding deals and making profit, but the time input is drastically higher and it requires an entirely separate video to cover how to source deals for free. So the most basic and yet consistent way to source deals is through Google Ads right here. Now, the issue here is there's many channels for finding deals, and that includes meta ads, pay-per-lead, call center agencies, motivated lead lists, and even active listings. And I will tell you folks right now, do not waste your money on these because I already have. They do not result in profitable deals, and the reason for that is simply because they are not direct intent, unlike Google, or they're simply too saturated. For example, on active listings, anyone who's got their home listed, they want retail price. And for a motivated lead list, sure, they might be motivated, but they've been cold called so many times, and that list has been resold to so many people that they have been called, countless times. They now have a default answer. Even if they're willing to sell their home and they are motivated, they are not going to take cold calls. And if they just happen to accidentally pick up on you, they're still not going to listen because they have this default shield against anyone trying to call them. Now, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to sourcing deals, Google Ads are the best way because they've also come to you. That's called direct intent. And people who come to us through Google Ads, it's insane. They will get, 10x phone calls that are cold, so 10x CC, and guess what? They don't care. Even if they're hearing all the best words in the world from these people cold calling them, who probably got them from a lead list, then guess what? They're not going to listen to them. They're going to listen to us as the authority because we are the direct intent. They came to us and they trust us because they found us as the first result on Google because we paid Google. And that's how we get deals done. We don't have to outbid anyone. That's how our structure is built. Now, with that in mind, just spend your money into Google Ads. There's an issue here. Specialty media buyers are very hard to find, especially one that's coherent. You will find plenty of ads just by watching this video. Instagram, Facebook, whatever is probably going to show you an ad for a new marketer or for someone who's going to run your Google Ads for you. They're pretty crazy with this stuff in terms of algorithm tracking, showing you ads. I'll tell you right now, 9 out of 10 media buyers will not do a good job. And that's out of experience. That's out of my own loss. I'm just telling you now so that you can understand this for your own business, so that you can avoid the sunk cost, so that you can skip ahead of the learning curve. Now, with that being said, let's say you find the right media buyer. I would suggest if you want to make one good deal a month happen, one good deal, bear with me, a month, you have to spend $4K. in ads. Now, here's the nuance, right? 4K and how long? It doesn't matter how long. If you want to spend 4K in one day, you will still find that deal in one day, theoretically. Of course, you might land on a bad day and it won't land, or you won't find the deal. But you can spread it out over 30 days. You can spread it out over 60 days, or, however long you want, 1,000 days. And you'll find that deal somewhere within those 1,000 days. But, that's extreme hyperbole. Don't actually try and spread it out over 1,000 days. You're not going to make progress that way. But that's how you find a deal. And this is the budget you should expect with a good marketer. Your cost per lead should be anywhere from 100 to 200. What a satisfying 100. That's probably the best 100 I've ever written. That's kind of an ADHD tangent. So 100, and actually, no, to 250. If it's below 100, that's actually a red flag in terms of cost per lead. Cost per person that goes on your website, clicks the form, fills out their info, and wants you to contact them about buying their house or, flipping, wholesaling, whatever. But to them, it's buying your house or you're buying their house. So the reason why this is a red flag if it's lower than 100 is because it probably means quality is down. But if it's 250 on the highest end, if it's more, you're overpaying. Whatever you're doing is like something's wrong with whatever your marketer is doing. If it's 250, quality's up. So in reality, if you compared these KPIs, key performance indicators, $100 leads will probably cost, in theory, you need to talk to 30 of them to find one deal. If you want, or not if you want, but if it turns out your campaign is spending $250, then you're probably just going to need 12 leads before you find one deal. And by the way, this is one deal at 50K profit or more. Now, if you want to be less nitpicky, unlike me and the same core philosophies I teach my real estate investing partners, you can take on 2 extra deals, but they're going to be at 5K profit and 15K profit. And so the reasoning here is like you would skip these because you don't want to waste time on what's not valuable, right? Like your output doing this would probably get you paid in theory at like you're paying yourself $250 an hour, but funny enough, at the level you will eventually reach, you're not even going to want to do this anymore. This is going to feel like a waste of time to you, and you're just going to burn yourself out. So that's why when you're only doing 50K plus deals, not only are they easy and simple to do and also higher priced than a normal deal, but you now get to pay yourself essentially upwards of like in the thousands per hour. So 5,000 an hour, quite literally, because it would not take more than 10 hours to flip a 50K deal. Now, that sounds crazy, but that all has to do with the process and doing the bare minimum to get the most out of that property. So there's a lot of nuances with that. It's going to vary by property, vary by strategy. That's what you need a coach and a mentor for. But really, as long as you know what you're doing, those are what the numbers look like there. So that's sourcing covered. Now, to go through securing, it's relatively simple. This is also referred to as acquisitions inside of your business. So you would have a marketing management branch, an acquisition branch, and a dispo branch. But for acquisitions, here's what it looks like. Really simple. Not as scary as it looks. Sales team, this could literally just be you. If you're the only person taking on leads, calls, whatever, or you're the only person negotiating, you are the sales team, and that's sufficient. You can even... Yeah, like I did this myself for my first essentially 9-ish months, closer to 6, but 9 months of doing this business. It was just me. Every single branch of the business except for sourcing, because this is a business of its own. You have to get someone to do this for you if you're not finding this through free methods. Okay, keep that in mind. This will be a separate vid, or a separate material. I don't know if I'm going to actually publish the methods. Because that's where the good stuff is. That's where the trade secrets lie, and that stuff gets saturated quickly. But like moving on from here, assuming sourcing's handled one way or another, sales team, you can do this on your own. You don't have to put that much effort in, and because of the fact that you're talking to maximum one person per day, then like because of like quality and the filtering that the ads do naturally, or the free method in terms of like leveraging connections, you would know about all that. One person per day or one phone call per day is not going to burn you out. It's not going to tire you out, and it doesn't require that much skill. Real estate is probably one of the easiest markets to negotiate or do sales in, or to get good at in terms of sales negotiation. So nothing to worry about there. I really do think this is the case, that sales are easiest in real estate because you are the authority. people come to you like you're a lawyer or a doctor. But in sales, it's almost like instead of you being above them socially, if you're like, for example, a pest control salesman, well, then you look silly. You look, you door knock them, you're bothering them. It's indirect. They didn't even ask for your business. Meanwhile, through real estate investing or ads, they've come looking for help. And so, like, for example, if you're door knocking and you're doing something like cold calling, reaching out to someone, or even a car salesman, they don't have as much respect for you, which is why those industries are much harder. But moving on there, sales are easy. Trust me. The sales process, you just need to have a process. This is just trade secrets, intellectual property, in terms of like, yeah, you would have to find a coach, mentor to actually make sure you're doing this right. Getting this right, there's a lot of tiny nuances. But as long as you know what you're doing and you have the right guidance there, you're good to go on the sales process. Negotiation framework, same thing as the process really. But a framework looks more like something like this rather than a big fat Google Doc written by some old white guy from 40 years ago. So a framework has arrows and you just follow the arrows based on what the seller says. And each little box will have 1 or 2 sentences in it in terms of what you respond with. That's a framework. You don't have to do any decision making there. Really efficient, really good stuff. No one makes frameworks other than myself. You might have to build one yourself if you're not part of my partnership, but that's the way it is. They're the easiest to get a hold of. So that advice alone should get you very far in terms of whatever you're going to try to learn in terms of sales, put it in and put it together as a framework. Frame philosophy is really just how you want to convey yourself. Before every call you get into, think to yourself, okay, what do I want to visualize myself as? This is either a mafia boss, a very attractive girl, or I call it the hot girl method, where you just don't like someone, you ghost them, whatever, you're not interested, whatever. 3, doctor. 4, attorney. Those are the 4 frames you can use. Those are my favorites. But yeah, like mafia boss, doing business, like if someone comes to him looking to sell their house to him, how does he respond? He's probably going to be very nonchalant. He's not going to care very much. He's just going to give them the facts, the figures, and then if the person, the seller, wants to do business with the mafia boss, then they can do that. If they don't want to, they don't have any room or right to really try and negotiate or haggle with him. And if they do, guess what? It's going to fall on flat ears because the mafia boss is just going to sit there with his, big giant cigar. Take your business elsewhere. Like, that's exactly how it would be with a mafia boss. That's why you visualize it, so that you have the right frame. So that's what frame philosophy is, essentially. Now, scripts, very self-explanatory. If you have a script, you can make a framework out of it. Now, finally, disposition. You get the deal signed here in acquisitions, and then that's when you move on to disposition. Disposition includes figuring out your exit strategy for the property. Otherwise, there's no reason to even have the deal in the first place. And then you need due diligence done. Now, I'm going to give you guys some free game. So you're welcome in advance. But here's what my due diligence process looks like. I get 3 CMAs, so comparative market appraisals or comparative market analyses. And I'll get them for free, but that's unique to my method. You're probably going to have to pay good money for each one of these if you do not know how to ask for them for free. Comes with a very nuanced way, as with everything else in real estate, unfortunately. And I get the 3 CMAs. I get a inspection. If everything looks good, I get a memo filed. And then I get title commitment paid for. And literally that's it. I don't need anything else to know if something's going to be a deal. So after all this, I could either take title or I could go ahead and assign the deal to someone else and sell it for an assignment fee. That's all you need for due diligence. You're welcome. Now, moving on from this right here, given the fact that it was so simple, there are little steps in between them in which I make my deal better. But those are pretty much trade secrets. Truth is, I leverage them for negotiations between both the buyer and the seller. And we are the middleman, so technically buyer would be the end buyer if you're wholesaling. If you're taking title first, whatever, you can still actually market a property before owning it. It doesn't really matter if you plan to take title to it or not. You can also leverage coming soon from a lot of MLS platforms. Most of them have coming soon, just like Zillow and whatever. But through the due diligence, there's a listing checklist. This one, should I give it away for free? I might as well, because there's no loss in it for me. And just to actually show that I know what I'm doing. Listing checklist. Here's what I do to make sure my listing is going to sell for as much as it can, whether or not I own the property. The listing checklist goes as follows. First, I want to get the property listed on the MLS for 0%. And by the way, this is not going to be in order because I already messed it up. I get it on the MLS for 0%. This is the core of making the most amount of profit. Now, once I do this, of course, I'm not going to have a realtor helping me out, so it's going to take a little extra work. But I'm still going to sell for the same price, same amount, so on and so forth. Just no commissions. Now, there might be a buyer's agent that I have to pay 2%, but that's fine. At the end of the day, not going to be the end of the world if my margin is $50K. Unless like it's $1 million property, then 2% would be a bit of a problem. That's $20K. But if you think about it, just saving 4% on $1 million deal is $40K extra margin just through this one step here of listing the property on your own. So that's whatever. But additionally, what you need is professional photos. And folks, that says Profo. That's funny. I think I need to go out and eat tonight now. I'm trolling, folks. Sorry. I don't know why I go on so many tangents. As you can tell, I'm a kid with ADHD and I've still done very well in the business. Hopefully that's somewhat reinforced by the fact that hopefully I seem to know what I'm talking about. But you need professional photos. I've been a realtor. In Virginia, I have the realtor license. I let it expire. Why? Because it's not useful. You need a license specifically so that you can help people sell their homes and get a commission from it. You don't need a license to list on the MLS, to basically put your home on the MLS, sell, and buy or sell real estate. You don't need a license for that. And that's a colossal misconception because otherwise realtors wouldn't exist. People would just go take a quick short class, learn how to sell, buy homes on their own without a realtor, because who's paying? Who is willingly in their right minds and knowingly paying 6% towards realtors when they know, like if they knew they could just do it without them? But the whole industry runs off a lie. Now, why do I say all this? Because me being a realtor, having been one, I know for a fact 95% of a realtor's job is to just be a salesman. They're cold calling, they're building connections, they're doing whatever. Yo, at the open houses, our job is not to sell your house. I'll tell you this right now. I'm going to get people coming after me. A realtor's job at an open house is to literally just find more clients to sign, not to sell your house. People walk in, the realtor talks, hey, how do you like the house? If they're even trying at all, by the way. How do you like the house? And quite literally next sentence, like if the client or the open house attendee says, oh, it's okay, I was looking for something probably a little more bigger though, you know, realtor immediately goes, or like this is standard of procedure, okay? I'm not even like making allegations here. This is in the day one rule books or like trainings for realtors. Realtor immediately would respond to the attendee and say, oh, I have another listing just down the block with larger sizes, just like this one. If anything, it's even better. You want to go look at that one? Here, put your name down. I'll give you my card too. Put your name, number, email down. I will call you after this open house. We can just go drive there. I'll come pick you up. It's totally fine. That's what they do. Believe it or not, like that's just what realtors do. They're 95% salespeople. No wonder like the whole United States hates them, right? Pretty logical. The United States is rightful in hating most of them. If you're a realtor, if you're licensed, I'm not hating on you, but you gotta game recognize game, right? You gotta understand that it makes sense that people would not be happy if they saw beneath the cover like this. Anyway, being a realtor is purely salesman work. That's why I'm not a realtor anymore. That's why I let my license expire. But yeah, moving forward off of this tangent yet again, professional photos. You get this. By the way, I said all that to prove my point of you don't need a realtor to sell your home. So I have the credibility there to reinforce that fact. You need professional photos. This will run you maybe $500. No. This should be 250 as long as you know where to look. And then you need lawn work. It can be pretty expensive. It's only for like really high ticket homes that I'm selling or flipping. Folks, things like flipping, kitchen renos, all that stuff, please just put it away. You don't need to put 100K as a kitchen reno just to add 10K in margin. Like, that stuff's risky. It's what's the word? Grueling and just not worth it, essentially. So we do the bare minimum, and that looks like, yes, deep clean. You can get a deep clean for around 500 or less if it's already relatively clean. But if it's a dump, you gotta expect at least 500. And then junk removal. And by the way, this is if you're taking title. You could do ninja stuff and not take title, but still put an investment down into the property like this. Junk removal would be 500 again, or more if it's massive, but still 500. And by the way, if you want to like sell a home or put this investment into a property that you're not taking title to, but you still want to sign it out for the most amount of profit, then it's, like I said, it's really ninja. You need to be careful with what properties you do it with, how you convey the idea to the seller, so on and so forth. But this is really it in terms of what you need at the bare minimum to sell your home for the most. Also, super duper neat trick. Really proud of this right here, because other people, they don't do this. And yet, like, off of these professional photos, here's a crazy life hack you should do for any of your properties. You go here, you do virtual. I'm trying to figure out how to do all this with the most gravitas, but I'm not good at it. Virtual staging. I can't write today. $50. And then if you can't afford 50, well, first off, you shouldn't be doing real estate. But if you don't want to do virtual staging for whatever reason, you can do AI staging for like either $0 or like, $5 to $25, depending on the platform you pay. But this is the modern world. We don't need normal staging. Now, why would you purposely steer away from normal staging? Because staging, one, is pointless in terms of the purchase. So whoever's buying the home is not going to be holding on to the staged furniture. And two, staging's only purpose is to get eyeballs on the property. So if you have virtual staging, someone goes and they look at the property and the furniture is not there, are they going to complain? Unless they wanted to buy the furniture with it and it's like a $5 million property and some fancy dude or lady designed that furniture, or like there was an interior designer and they're famous or whatever, and like they wanted the property, no one's going to care, right? They don't care about the furniture being there because they weren't going to have it in the first place. As long as they show up, they look at the home itself, you're good. The entire purpose of virtual staging, or any staging, is to get more eyeballs on the property. Let me show you guys an example here. Let me go. This is one of my, I own this property, so I'm able to show it. 295, right? Dirt cheap. My purchase was lower than the land value. So you can see under contract. So I did sign to sell it already. This was wholesale, novation, whatever you want to call it. It's 19 days on Zillow, but I wonder if it's going to show in the history here. Yeah, okay. Listed for sale. And by the way, this is back when the original seller was trying to sell it. For what he gave it to me for, you guys are going to have to guess, but there was good margin in this nonetheless. I'll give you guys a hint. It was less than the land value. But you can see right here, 7/29/2026, 5 days later, pending sale. Guess where this property is? Middle of nowhere. So how do you do this with a property that's been on the market for 5 days in the middle of nowhere? Well, it comes down to the due diligence and the listing checklist. I've quite literally put $0 into this property, and I have exact replicas of what I did with this property in Florida, in North Carolina, Pennsylvania. It's just everywhere, and it's a repeatable process, and that's the whole point that this thing exists. But as you can see, the checklist makes things easy. And as long as you stick to the process, you can get 2,000 views, 117 saves in less than a month on a home that is in the middle of bum nowhere. So, you know, the results speak for themselves. I wish there was a way to show you who owns title to this property, but it's me. My Pathfinder ENT LLC stands for Enterprises. But yeah, you can, like, if you have access to county records, you can probably search this up and find it. But yeah, that's the system there. So let's actually, like, keep going here because we're almost done, right? I'm not going to bore you guys too much. The listing checklist presentation prep, which also, you know, coincides, it's pretty much the same as this with virtual staging. This is every ingredient you need to sell a home for like basically immediately. Doesn't matter where it's at, how ugly, that was a single wide mobile home, by the way. Single wide mobile home, no plate, no data plate in the cabinets. You can't get this financed or anything. Still, 5 days. Come on. I'm literally just sitting waiting around for the money to hit my account. But, you know, even though this is a 29.5, like, if this takes you, you know, 5-10 hours to flip, are you going to complain about 15K margin? Spoilers? No. So that's why that deal happened in the first place. Honestly, I did want to get it sold for 45, but at some point I'm like, you know what, never mind. Because I knew I could just get it sold super quick, and that's what I did. Because at some point you're going to stop valuing money as much. You're going to start valuing your time more. And I'm pretty sure that's the position every single person watching this wants to get to. So that's all that. When it comes to easy flips, what I do as part of the partnership, it's going to vary in terms of how much of the work I do with you or even just for you entirely. But really, this is the entire gist of doing this. Because look, now, like this property, I didn't visit it once. I don't visit any property ever. Now that you've seen all this, the whole sequence, and this skeleton of a consistently profitable real estate investing business, at least for everything that's short term. I don't do long term. I don't know about it. I haven't even been around long term. So, like, this is what I know. This is what I'm good at. You can see right here. Goes pending to profit. And then what do you do with profit? Right back around, back into the Google ads. Now you compound. Now you just got, you know, this was one of the 15K deals that I mentioned. Like, this is not going to be one of the big pop grand slam deals. If you want to look at one of those, where is it? Here we go. I'll leave this link. If you want to look at one of those grand slam deals, go ahead. I'll put this link in bio. Hopefully I didn't leak any information in there. But I did a negotiation here, and this was earlier today, so I just uploaded it. I do this pretty often now, if you couldn't tell. That one is 44K. It was simple, super duper simple negotiation. And essentially, like, those deals will come around too. It's just about who you want to deal with, how energetic you're feeling. So I could have easily said no to this deal, right? I could have been like, forget it. Or I could have waited a little longer and made instead like 30 or 35 on it. But circumstance-wise, I was fine with just pocketing 15 roundabout. But this is one of the bigger deals you can look at, and there's more. There's plenty more. But just so you guys aren't overloaded and run into analysis paralysis, start watching a Netflix series of me just signing on deals. I'm just putting one up for you guys to watch. But that's what happens, right? You get 15 to 50K. Some will have way more. But those are like Goldilocks deals. You don't want to expect them, but they will happen, and they'll be very nice when they do. So you put the money right back into Google Ads, and guess what? You've spent 4K to find 2 deals, and now the total net, if you do 15 and 44, just from like basically like today, well, minus this because this is already under contract, doesn't really count, but serves for, it's all within a month, so it serves my example here. Then essentially this is 60K profit roundabout. Let's just say for net minus the cost, because of course you're putting 4K into ads. 50K profit out of 4K spend. I mean, that's 12x roundabout, roughly 12x return on investment. You're not going to find that anywhere on the stock market. or any market. This is because this is a real business. You're putting input into this, and that's why you're making this money. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what you would do with this 50K. You would go to Tokyo and you would spend all of it. I'm just kidding. I did that for my first deal, and I'll never go back. But that's all jokes, because I didn't regret it, but I did do that. You can ask me about it on call. I'll tell you about it. It's one of my favorite stories. But 50K goes right back into ads, okay? Really simple stuff, right back into ads. And if you initially use the free method to find this 50K deal, guess what? The free method might have taken you like maybe 20 hours of labor. I don't know what the average is right now, because it's been a while since I did anything for free, right? Amen to that. But about 20 hours of labor going into the free method of finding a deal. You find a 50K deal, still a pretty good rate, right? It's just additional because, you still have the rest of the steps. Google Ads just makes it automatic. But 20 hours, 50K deal found. You do the rest of the steps. And now, guess what? You just went from the free method and you've graduated into running Google Ads or having someone else run them for you. Guys, if you want to run this yourself, you can't. You just might as well buy a course on becoming a marketer, because Google Ads are entirely a business of their own. I've tried doing it myself, couldn't. I'd like to think of myself as relatively smart to some extent. Still couldn't make it work. So just take my word for it. You will be better off having done so. So that's the skeleton. There was a lot of game here. Use this for what it's worth. Check that video out if you want. It's quite literally just a live negotiation. And all that being said, I hope this was a fantastic video. Had a pretty good time making this. Sorry for taking so long, 31 minutes. But now you are all the wiser for real estate deals. So if I have a call booked with you, I will see you soon. If you would like to book in, maybe I'm open to new partnerships. I will put that as a link below as well, just in case. But yeah, all that being said and done, thanks for watching. Peace.